Let me tell you about now innovation, which is really sort of the focus of today. I mentioned before that it's not hard to change. What's hard is to overcome the fact that things have worked extremely well for people for a very, very long time, and that being the case, they're not inclined to change. But I've been in education, so I know that it's easier to move a cemetery than it is to change the curriculum. I'm sure that there's a healthcare sort of analogy to that. But understand that innovation is something that lives within the organization. It's not a department, it's not like a complaint department or anything else. It's a process, something that you have to make part of your everyday business procedures. And if you do that, you understand it's also not about inventing new things, it's just about making things better. And we always have this vision of the 40 steps in a process, each represented by a little yellow Post-it, and the goal is to make as many of the Post-its disappear because the process becomes more efficient and more organized and more orderly. So, we're not interested in building the greatest software that nobody's interested in. We're not interested in, curing pretend diseases. There's a lot of energy in an entrepreneurial community like this. What we're working on is more in the way of focus and the ability to actually make a difference. And understand also that this is about incremental success in another way. It's not about biting off more than you can chew. It's about successively moving forward. And this is a great Warren Buffett quote, that you can climb mountains, but it's a lot easier to take the train if the opportunity presents itself. And here's a good example. For about 50 years, headphones were sold as medical instruments. I mean, basically, if you read the ads, you would think it was a spectroscope or something. It had all these numbers and stats and all this sort of garbage. And what's missing from this entire thing is pretty interesting. It's people. It's people. And so along comes Apple and does a really crazy thing with just a silhouette and two little white things, and they put it in people's ears, and all of a sudden the music changes. And by the way, music changed so radically, and headphones and everything else changed so radically, that kids under about 30 don't even know what music is supposed to sound like. Because that's not the driver today. The driver is not the quality of the music, it's the distribution. It's the mobility of the music. And now we're seeing it in photography. Who's walking around with a giant, except my brother, he has a giant phallic SLR, and he's taking pictures of my nephew, but the truth is it's just about whatever. Anyway, but most people are like, I'm using my cell phone because I can send the photos to the people that I care about and the people that I want to share these things with. So distribution trumps 40 megabyte files that you can't send to anybody. And so we're seeing that over and over again. And so we're seeing, in fact, that today, Beats, one of the premier little sort of design-oriented headphones things, has 60% of the market. Apple just paid $3 billion to buy them. And so what did they do? They figured out that there were other dimensions of the way that you could make things special and different and set yourself apart. And all of those are part of the process. And sometimes it's a question of not big changes, but little changes. And understand that sometimes suggestions and changes come in all sizes and shapes. This is one of my favorites. So this is literally a true story from three and a half years ago. There was a baggage handler on the runway, with these huge headphones because they're designed to keep them from being deafened. And as each plane would go by with all 4 engines running, he wondered to himself, gee, I wonder, since it's not flying, it's driving on the stupid tarmac, maybe they don't need all 4 engines, okay? So he said, how about if we turn off 3 of the 4 engines, and guess what? The first quarter, he saved American Airlines $54 million in wasted fuel. Okay? So it wasn't a huge thing. It was just an observation that somebody came up with that made a great deal of sense. And that's how this goes. You never know who is going to help you, who is going to change what you do, who is going to bring you new information. And so organizations need to be open to that in order to have this process